We'll call the meeting to order. Good afternoon. We respectfully acknowledge that the Township of Algonquin Highlands is located on Treaty 20 Mishi-Saugig territory and in the traditional territory of the Mishi-Saugig and Chippewa Nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations. We also acknowledge a historic shared presence of other Indigenous nations throughout the area, and we recognize these original inhabitants as the stewards of its lands and waters since time immemorial. The following meeting of the Committee of Adjustment is a public meeting to consider development proposals that don't comply with the provisions of the Township's comprehensive zoning bylaw. My name is Liz Danielson, and I'm the chair of the committee. I'd like to introduce the members of the committee that are here today. John Rogers, who's a public member. Fergus McLaren, who's representing the northern part of the community. And we also have Sean O'Callaghan, our planner, and Greg Moore, who is our building official. So Mr. O'Callaghan will provide a brief overview of each application, after which the applicant or their agent will have an opportunity to address the committee. Following this, anyone who wishes to speak to the application, either in support or against, or whether in present or online, will have the opportunity to do so. The committee will then discuss the proposal and be given the opportunity to ask questions of both our planner and the applicant. The committee will then vote to grant, refuse, or defer the proposal. And just one other item before we get started, just in case we have some major wind and lose power, we will pause for a few minutes and see if we get power back. Otherwise, we may have to defer the meeting if we don't get power. Or would we carry on?
We could continue, but we will lose the people that are attending via Zoom.
Okay, and let's just fingers crossed that that doesn't happen. So could I have a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda? Guys, you guys are it today. Moved by member Rogers, seconded by member McLaren.
Moved by John Rogers, second by Fergus McLaren. Be it resolved, the Committee of Adjustment hereby approves as circulated the meeting agenda of September 5th, 2025.
All in favor? That's carried. Could I have a mover and a seconder to approve the minutes of both May the 30th and July the 25th? Member McLaren, member Rogers.
Moved by Fergus McLaren, seconded by John Rogers. Be it resolved that the Committee of Adjustment hereby approves as circulated the meeting minutes of May 30th, 2025 and July 25th, 2025.
All in favor? That's carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof today? Oh, I'm sorry. At least it's northern. Hearing no pecuniary interest, I will move on to new business. The first is an application by Irwin in the Township of Sherburne. If you want to go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. This property is located at 12157 Fishpole Point. The lands are zoned shoreline residential 2 and designated waterfront in the official plan. The property is approximately 0.82 acres in area with 73.1 meters of frontage on Quagama Lake. Surrounding uses are generally shoreline residential, and the lands are currently developed with a dwelling, 2 sheds, a sleeping cabin, and a dock. The applicant is proposing to construct a 1-story, 252 square foot addition on the easterly side of the existing dwelling. The proposed addition will be constructed on the side of the dwelling and will be set back 4.8 meters from the high water mark. The following relief is being requested, and that is from section 4.2.6 of the zoning bylaw to increase the maximum. No, I apologize. I'm sorry, to increase the maximum gross floor area permitted from 0% to 59% for the purpose of the 252 square foot addition. Notice of the application was posted on the property, posted on the township website, and circulated to property owners within 60 meters of the subject lands, as well as to the County of Haliburton and the Quagama Lake Property Owners Association. No objections have been received. Staff are recommending approval of the proposed minor variance with the following conditions. One, confirmation being provided from an Ontario land surveyor that the proposed dwelling addition is not located closer than 4.8 meters from the high water mark prior to any clearing, site alteration, or the issuance of a building permit. 2, that any on-site sewage system permits and reviews required by the township have been obtained and approved prior to the issuance of a building permit. And 3, that appropriate construction mitigation measures be implemented, including the erection and maintenance of silt fencing between the proposed building and the shoreline.
Any questions from the committee members? Questions or comments? Is there anyone in the audience or online who wishes to speak to this application? No one online? Could I then have a mover and a seconder to approve the application? Member Rogers, seconded by Member McLaren.
Moved by John Rogers, seconded by Fergus McLaren. Be it resolved, the Committee of Adjustment hereby approves minor variance application HMV 2025 to seek relief from section 4.14.9I to increase the maximum gross floor area permitted from 0% to 59% for the purpose of constructing a 252 square foot addition, subject to the following conditions. 1, confirmation being provided from an Ontario land surveyor that the proposed dwelling addition is not located closer than 4.8 meters from the high water mark prior to any clearing, site alteration, or the issuance of a building permit. 2, any on-site sewage system permits and reviews required by the township have been obtained and approved prior to the issuance of a building permit. And 3, that appropriate construction mitigation measures be implemented, including the erection and maintenance of silt fencing between the proposed building and the shoreline.
All in favor? That's carried. Okay, our next application is for a minor variance by Martel on Quagama Lake.
Thank you. Yes, this property is located at 4011 Quagma Lake Road. The lands are zoned shoreline residential 1 and environmental protection and designated waterfront under the official plan. The property is approximately 2.96 acres in area with 315 meters of frontage on Quagma Lake. Surrounding uses are generally shoreline residential, and the lands are currently developed with a dwelling, detached garage, and a dock. The owner is proposing to construct a 649 square foot boathouse. The proposed boathouse will project into the water 19.04 meters from shore, and the proposed dock attached to the boathouse will project into the water 19.74 meters from the shore. Water levels in front of the subject lands are quite shallow, and the requested projection of the boathouse will allow for the safe docking of a vessel with adequate water depth. This application was deferred by the committee on May 30th of this year, pending clarification and further review of the following. Dimensions of the proposed structure, navigation impacts, MNR circulation, and a scoped environmental impact study being prepared. The MNR and Transport Canada have advised of no concerns with the proposed development. A scoped EIS in support of the proposed development has been submitted and was attached to my report. The requested variances are the following. 1, from section 4.2.9E to permit an increase in the maximum projection of a dock from 15 meters to 19.74 meters. And 2, from section 4.2.9F of the zoning bylaw to permit an increase in the maximum projection of a boathouse from 8 meters to 19.04 meters. Notice of the application was posted on the property, posted on the township website, and circulated to property owners within 60 meters of the subject lands, as well as to the County of Haliburton and the Quagma Lake Property Owners Association. Several letters of objection were received and circulated to the committee. Staff are recommending approval of the proposed minor variance with the following condition. That the recommendations contained within the scoped environmental impact study completed by Mikulski Nielsen and Associates Limited and dated June 27, 2025 be implemented and followed.
Questions from committee members? No questions? Is there, I'm assuming that the applicants are here and wish to speak to the application. If you'd like to come forward. Is the mic turned on? this material that we've already received?
It's just picked it up like last time when they had
Yeah.
an opportunity to discuss pictures.
Yeah.
This, is it another one?
Yes.
This is just the minister government setting us up. Refer to.
Would you just to speak your name, please?
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, I know who we are, but just for the
I know.
purposes of
Thank
the
you.
record.
My name is Darren Martell, property owner. My wife and I have 4011 Coagma Lake Road. Megan,
Go ahead.
thank you. Good afternoon. My hope today is to drill down to the facts. We heard a lot of false information, speculation, and outrageous accusations at our last meeting, May the 30th, which I will address. One commenter suggested the boathouse location would be a danger to boat traffic in the channel. I will point out that the boathouse proposed location is located outside of the navigational channel. To even be considered a navigational channel, it needs to be 500 feet or less, which we are not. Depending on where you measure the boathouse, we would be 574 feet or 645 feet across from the other side. What was comical, though, well, the commentator didn't have any concern for a water slide, a jumpy thing, or a climbing apparatus that is at least 40 feet out into the channel with no navigational lights and notably located in a channel which is way less than 500 feet, as shown on document 8, first page. I have included in your package on page 6 of the EIS scoped report, and I quote, "Boat traffic in and out of the bay will be further offshore with a series of small islands along the tip, reinforcing the requirements for boats to give a wide berth. There are no concerns that this boathouse will create a navigational or boating safety hazard." Despite the recent comments received, I have done my homework. And with regards to needed depths, I need between 24 and 30 inches in depth. That's with the engine up slightly. Keep in mind, my property is sandy, so being 12 inches off the bottom will kick up sand, which in turn, that sand gets sucked into the impeller. For any experienced boater in the room, you can't safely maneuver or steer a boat with the lower end in the upright position. I would also note, my neighbor to the north, due to this year's lack of water, has already taken their boat out of the water. It's only September the 5th. We had folks that stated the view would change, which we know is not part of the planning or minor variance application. Obviously, I'm not impeding on any of their front views whatsoever. The other fact is the peninsula juts out further than the proposed location, therefore not blocking lake water views as we're tucked in beside our peninsula boundaries. I have demonstrated this on page 1 and documented the line of sight for each of my neighbors. That's on the second page. I'm curious why the boat port 2 doors down south of me, which surely blocks some lake views from either side, is not a concern to anyone. In mine, which does not block any views, is now a concern. Again, I quote from the EIS report that the intended location and design of this boathouse, including its intended projection offshore, are appropriate in this setting. The Connors Association submitted a letter from its membership. Never did the association reach out to all the members as stated it has. It's plain fiction. I know because I'm a member of the Coagma Lake Cottage Association, and I have spoken to other members who have no clue what she's referring to. Again, not accurate, honest, or an experienced enough individual to pass judgment, or the very least state she speaks on behalf of all. That was clearly not the case and further evidenced by her most recent comments received this week. The Cottage Association also stated not to set a precedent. Obviously, this individual also didn't do their homework. Again, we only need to look down 2 doors on document B. The next page. You will find at the end of the dock an enclosed dock port, not abutting the land as required, and certainly exceeding the 26 feet from the shore water high water mark as per the bylaw requirement, as you can see in the picture. I suspect due to their shallowness of the water, they located the boat port out and away from the high water mark into the channel. I get that. I get it. Is that maybe a concern of some commentators further south having their view basically obscured or blocked? I don't know. My message for any association, before you throw one of your members under the bus, do your homework. As mentioned, the planner recently received a letter from the Cotters Association asking the committee, and I quote, "Should council be inclined to approve the application, it is recommended that a condition of approval require that the applicant obtain the necessary Ministry of Natural Resources work prior to construction." Again, if this person knew what they were talking about, they would know that we're 650 feet from the Crown Lake bed, which is highlighted in the second attachment. The work would have no adverse effects on Crown land as per the email attached to it. And you can read, "I'd like to confirm that the MNR work permit is not required to conduct your shoreline work. The attached map shows that you are about 200 meters from Crown Lake bed, highlighted in green. The work would have no adverse effects on Crown land." So for even a association that represents people to put that in a letter that knows that it's not even relevant further shows her inadequacies. What's important for this person, or any association for that matter, is to remember that no two lots are the same. Every property has its own characteristics and as such needs to be assessed individually on its own merit and fact. I would add, I am not setting any precedent. In fact, I'm addressing our site-specific shore conditions. I was asked to communicate with my neighbors. We received a letter today. I was more than happy to do that. Twice I communicated with the township, Laura Finney, and the 2 neighbors to my south, and that I would do that with all commenters. The 2 neighbors insisted they represented the group, and communicating with all was not possible. So I made my effort. If you look at page 1 on the handout, yes, page 1, you will see a mock-up site plan with 3 boathouse locations, which I provided the 2 commenters. Today, I have labeled them 1, 2, and 3. For background, 1 and 3 required no minor variance whatsoever. As I mentioned earlier, every lot has its downside, so let's look at location number 1. The neighbor has already made a statement about my character. How does location 1 benefit her? Not to mention both of our privacies. Given her concerns, would it not make sense to distance me as far as possible and not subject her daughter to me or my guests while on the dock in their bathing suits? Option 1 should be the opposite of what she wants. She already has 1 boat port on her left. Does she really want to be beside me creating a tunnel vision out into the bay?
Sir, this is about your application.
Correct.
I've got a bit of a problem with some of the
Just
comments and
clarification from the
accusations.
May
you're-
30th, which was why the reason the meeting was deferred. Clarification. I'm getting on to the new stuff. Thank you.
But just maintain some respect,
I-
if you would.
I haven't said what I'm really thinking. Does this neighbor really want my bubblers extending out in front of my property next to hers? We all talked about children falling through the ice. My boathouse, like all, will incorporate heat lines and bubblers. So getting the farthest away from this property line, you would think would also be a priority of theirs. What is better, bubblers 15 feet off the property line or bubblers 120 feet? Staying on page 1, let's look at boathouse number 3 at the point. We heard concerns about getting around the point was important to all, and safety was the utmost importance. If you look at page 2, you will see we are looking west. And the point is on the right as demonstrated. All right. You'll also see a stump and further out a white marker extending far out and beyond the point. If I put the boathouse there, kayakers will be forced out into the lake to get around the boathouse instead of being inside the safety of these two markers provided, not to mention the underwater islands provided currently, also identified on page 6 of the report. Let's not forget location number 3 would block the lake views for all. Remember, I don't need a minor variance for either 1 or 3. All I need is a permit, which I'm entitled to under the bylaw. But this is not the best answer for all. I don't think it is, nor does my wife. I'm hoping today with the EIS and the three proposed locations, I am providing today people a better understanding of the minor variance. All right, so let's move forward. I would say location number 2, aside from what you already know, doesn't create any safety issues, doesn't block the north and west lake views. There is some scrub brush, but that doesn't block the lake views. It gives privacy to all, moves the bubbler system more than 120 feet and hundreds of feet from the OFSC trail. So you'll see that we gave a lot of consideration to location number 2. I'm going to bypass something for now. We have lots of new information, and hopefully we can stick to the facts today and not more wild statements. You asked for the meeting to be deferred. You asked us to follow up with the Ministry of Natural Resources, NAV Canada, scoped EIS, and resend the dimensions of the proposed structures. After numerous hours spent, thousands of dollars spent, we have successfully met all of your 4 conditions set out by the committee, and I trust they have been circulated and read hopefully by all. For the record, MNR has no issue, jurisdiction, or concern. NAV Canada has no issue. The scoped environmental impact is in full support. In support of the proposed location with 0 impact. It went so far in that report, it actually stated it would not only provide excellent fish habitat, it was well tucked in behind the land, and it was not a navigational concern at all or cause harm to the shoreline. In fact, it was the absolute best spot. Again, focus on professional advice you requested. We need to look at the facts presented. I'd also ask consideration be given to the Algonquin Highlands tax-paying citizens who are not here today and spending their hard-earned dollars. This is our 3rd committee meeting today. Sean O'Callaghan has spent numerous hours on this minor variance as well as the garage minor variance. Sean is polite, but I'm sure he wants to see the back of my head. Number 2 benefits the whole channel versus going with option 1 or 3 as demonstrated. I'd like to say in closing, Sean is the planner hired by the township. He has his Bachelor of Urban and Regional Planning and is recognized as a professional provincially and Canadian and in Canada. He supports his application, given the shallowness. My planner, who has also similar accreditation, submitted a justification report supporting this project, which is also supported by your planning department. The environmental impact study conducted by an ecologist with a Master's of Science and over 36 years of experience fully supports this. I've highlighted some of his credentials in the handout. You can also look at page 2, 4, 5, and 6 that I've included in your package and highlighted. Today's vote should be based on expertise of these bright minds in your planning department. Again, we received county approval, ministry, NAV, impact study. Everything's overwhelming. There's absolutely nothing to support this boathouse as a navigational challenge, environmental issue, line of sight issue, or any issue we need to concern ourselves with. I, for one, would hate to see any more of the money wasted, and I would ask today that we focus on professional expertise and what we know to be accurate, not assumptions. None of the nonsense. Thank you.
Do members of the committee have any questions for Mr. Martel? Hearing none?
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the room who wishes to speak to the application? I beg your
Yeah, we
pardon?
were gonna bring Amber in for.
Oh, I'm
the-
sorry. I forgot about that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You can both come forward if you both have comments that you want to make.
Okay,
So if you'd state your name, please.
Jason Brown.
I do have to say that information being handed to us today does make things more complicated. It would be appreciated to receive information in advance. Information, so we will receive your.
I can put together an updated graphics. Could you put up the one of the rendering of the photos?
Sure. I'll probably these on some photographs. Where's the best place for me to put that? Do you think, for everybody to see? Would you like me to put it here? Pass over there. Is that what?
I'm not sure that, can you see it there, John?
What the,
The photos rendering. That one.
this one? Yeah. No, yeah, there you go. By the signage business, we do this at work, so. They go buy that stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe it's made it.
Hello, folks. It's good to see everyone again. That's a rendering of the boathouse that was provided by our neighbors. Just for reference, just keep in mind what we're talking about. It's a fairly significant structure with, it looks like a bar off the side of it and a party deck with loungers that will face directly towards quite a few of our properties. So while I was relieved to see that the EIS seemed to put a couple of our environmental concerns to rest, I was disappointed that our neighbors hadn't addressed many of our other concerns and objections raised at the meeting in May. We've been hoping to work with Darren and Kira to address some of our other concerns, but haven't really heard from them. So in light of the strong objections at the last meeting, it was a bit puzzling to be back here and kind of surprising without any real changes. So I'd reached out to Darren shortly after the first meeting to make sure he'd received our contact emails to work with a plan, to hopefully work towards a plan that was more acceptable to everyone. Darren didn't respond to me directly, but sent Sean a few questions and a copy of the plan showing the alternate locations that they had considered, which he mentioned earlier. So if you take a look at my my handout, figure number 1, I think that was his option number 1 at the bottom, which is a compliant boathouse. And yes, it is close to our property line, but I think it really demonstrates the difference between what a compliant boathouse would be, where a third to a half of it would have to be on land for the size that they're proposing, versus their proposal, which all of it's extended out 64 feet into the lake, or over 64 feet. So it's, you know, in our mind, it's fairly significant difference. The other one, yes, it's tucked on shore. It would have very little impact on our view. This one at the end of a dock sticking out so far, we believe will have a significant impact on our view. So prior to this meeting, our neighbors confirmed the dimensions and sent their revised drawings of their proposal to Sean, including the gangway. The structure is approximately 2,200 square feet. The boathouse and deck alone are 49 by 40 feet and over 16 feet tall. When the water is at its lowest, it will extend 20 feet above the lake. It is massive. At the first meeting, we presented a number of images where we attempted to demonstrate our blocked view. Darren stated that our images were distorted, suggesting that they weren't accurate. I'm certain they are significantly more accurate than Darren and Kira's assertion from their justification report, and I quote, "The increased projection will not have any navigational impacts on the lake or view impacts on adjacent lands." The assertion that no views would be impacted by a 40-foot deep, 49-foot wide, 16-foot tall complex extending over 64 feet from shore seems absurd. Nevertheless, With confirmed measurements and more reference points, we were better able to produce accurate images to demonstrate how our view will be blocked and impacted. I used the M&R Make-A-Map software to plot using the dimensions Darren and Kira's submittal, the distance from our property line to their dock edge, and the projection of the dock from the shoreline. I added our current deck as a reference point. The M&R mapping application showcases Ontario's best available imagery and data and has an accurate measuring tool. It is also the program used for the maps provided and the measurements in the EIS that was submitted. So if you look at figure 2, you can see that our deck marked with a green dot will be inside of the projection of the dock and boathouse marked with a red dot. Our wide open big lake views will be blocked and our privacy will be greatly reduced. So this is figure 2 here. It's the map. In addition to the dimensions plotted on the map, a white marker was placed approximately 60 feet from the high water mark at the location of the proposed dock. We used this mark as a reference point to help assure accuracy for our renderings. The proposed boathouse will stick out 62 feet and the dock over 64 feet. I took a photo from our dock where I often sit and have coffee, figure 3. Figures 3 and 4 are together to make it easy to compare the difference. You can see the white marker in the foreground. Looking towards the far shore, we have a wide open big lake view. My designer used both the confirmed measurements, M&R map, and this white marker to guide his new revised drawings. If you look at figure 4, you can see our view will be significantly blocked by the proposed structure. In addition, the privacy that we currently enjoy on our dock and deck will be lost. At the first meeting, Kira, also suggesting views wouldn't be blocked, said that everyone knows that our land curves in. If you look at figure 5, which is a satellite photo taken from Darren and Kira's EIS submittal, you can see that Kira was mistaken. Their proposed location, marked with a white X, isn't tucked in. If anything, it extends out, which will further block our view and reduce our privacy. That's this image here. Their submittal was dotted, outlined in red. Provide a different perspective, our designer, again, using provided measurements, maps, and reference points, plotted the structure in a drone photo taken during the winter, figure 6. It's this one here. Just the next one. Our deck is to the right and has the red chairs on it. The impacts of this massive non-compliant structure built away from shore will be felt year-round. The structure also appears to be much more than simply a boathouse and dock. The boathouse incorporates a bar area, a large 20 by 40 foot party deck. I've included the revised drawings for the submittal, but we also have it here on the easel. The party deck and bar, over 64 feet from shore, would look directly into our dock and deck, greatly reducing our privacy and enjoyment. Keep in mind that our neighbors have many toys, including, but I don't imagine limited to, a pontoon boat, speedboat, and jet skis that they listed at the last meeting. The impacts will be felt not just from the structure, but how it will be used by them and when they are entertaining guests. To me, it seems like our neighbors are using the argument that they need relief from shallow water in order to build a longer dock, which makes some sense, but then trying to add a party deck, bar, and boathouse all over 60 feet from shore, which seems unjustified and not essential for their enjoyment of their property. Even their assertions about the water depth that they need relief from is questionable. So at the first meeting, we talked about our boat needs. Kira claimed their boat needed 1 meter of draft. We discussed draft needed for all of our boats. The 1 meter figure seemed exaggerated compared to our collective experience. I looked up pontoon boats. It gave a range of 21 inches to 24 inches. Our boat with a 90 horsepower outboard floats in less. We don't have an issue with similar water depths. Kira also stated that she went out to where the water was measured 1 meter deep, and they are seeking a variance to that point, 19.4 meters. Yet their EIS report states that on June 24th, a water depth of 1 meter was encountered only 12 meters from shore at the proposed site. If you look at the MNR target water level graph from Quagama, that's the one with all the lines in the color, you can see that June 24th was within the regulated summer water level, which coincides with the boating season. The green line is the MNR target operating level. So 1 meter deep, 12 meters shore during the boating season. Based on the report they submitted, even if they needed 1 meter of draft, they should be able to build a compliant dock with no need for a variance in order to enjoy their property in the main boating season. I've been wondering how shallow water needed to be in order to reasonably justify relief. Minden Hills zoning has quantified it at 1 meter measured during the regular or high water season. I did check with Sean. He said Algonquin Highlands Council had decided to evaluate it on a case-by-case basis, which probably gives more flexibility in unique situations, such as one with rocky access points. So outside of the regular boating season, we enjoy our property year-round and spend a considerable amount of time there during the fall, winter, and spring. In the fall, our far shore view is of the autumn leaves, which we very much enjoy. They will be obstructed. At that time, the lake level is drawn down by over 4 feet from its peak. In the fall, the boathouse and dock structure will appear 20 feet tall, and the massive steel pilings will be an eyesore. So we updated our renderings from the previous meeting with the updated design and confirmed dimensions. Now imagine, so that's figure 8. Now imagine it 4 feet above the water with the steel pilings exposed. Its impact on our enjoyment of our property and privacy will be significant. In the winter, as discussed before, Darren and Kira will need to use a bubbler to protect their structure from ice damage. Kira had mentioned the boathouses and bubblers further in the inlet. Because those boathouses have deeper water, they are able to use an agitator. Agitators are easier to control the amount of open water they create and produce little or no noise. In addition, those boathouses are all built against the shoreline and have a much smaller footprint than what's being proposed. Shallow water will need a bubbler. Bubblers are powered by an air compressor, which we will have to listen to all winter. With over 2,000 square feet of structure, it will need a very powerful and noisy bubbler. As discussed at the first meeting, a bubbler must be closely monitored and adjusted. Otherwise, it can create open and unsafe ice extending hundreds of feet. I fear that our neighbors, with their winter place in Florida, will not be around to monitor and adjust their bubbler for much of the year. I've attached some images from articles on bubblers to give you a sense of how bubblers can create incredibly unsafe conditions. Those are figures 9, 10, and 11. As you can see, the impacts of bubblers can be unpredictable. Sometimes they create unintended open water extending along the shoreline. Sometimes the open water extends well out in front of the structure they are intended to protect. I'm sure the people in these photos didn't intend to create such unsafe conditions when they installed their bubblers. Regardless of intent, the open water created by the bubblers comes with a tremendous amount of both civil and criminal liability. At a past presentation to the Lake of Bays Association, OPP Sergeant Larry Butterfield told a shocked audience that people could be charged with assault or manslaughter if someone falls through a hole their bubbler created. At the time, Councillor Nancy Tapley called the situation death waiting to happen. At the first meeting, Kira said, "We are sledders and know enough to keep away from bubblers. That's great for them with their 1,000 feet of shoreline. For us, because of our trees and where our floating dock needs to be stored for protection, we have one access point to the lake. I fear that access will take us dangerously close to unsafe ice that this proposal may create, a hazard extending 360 degrees around their structure. We regularly snowmobile both on the OFSC trails and to go ice fishing. For reference, our 4-stroke 2-up sled is over 1,000 pounds, fully loaded and fueled. The Tall Pines OFSC trail passes directly in front of us and our neighbors, figure 12, which is taken from the OFSC map. Trail 64 appears to extend onto our neighbor's property. In reality, the trail only curves towards their property and is staked more towards the middle of the inlet. As sledders, Karen and Darren will know that regardless of where the trail is staked, it becomes an incredibly wide lane as riders search for fresh powder or try to avoid bumpy frozen slush from previous tracks. Using the same M&R mapping program, I measured 200 feet from the proposed dock and boathouse. That's figure 13, to give you a sense of how far into the inlet 200 feet extends. The bubbler our neighbors need will have the potential to create incredibly unsafe conditions, not only for us, but the many sledders using what is a very popular trail. During the Tall Pines Poker Run alone, well over 100 sleds pass in front of us. I was a bit surprised the author of the EIS ignored any potential winter issues. There was no mention of winter environmental impacts of the bubbler, such as disturbing the bottom, releasing nutrients, leading to algae blooms, hibernating turtle predation from river otters, we have both, and open water attracting beavers, we have those as well. It made me wonder if the EIS could have been a bit more thorough. The de-icing fact sheet from the Lake Bays Association suggests there may be more impacts to be considered. I attached that on Appendix 2. In the winter, this proposal has potential to create an incredibly unsafe situation for both us, our neighbors, and the many people who enjoy Kewagama. It seems unreasonable to expect everyone to trade their safety and enjoyment so our neighbors can have a 2,000 square foot boathouse, bar, and party deck over 64 feet from shore. There were a couple of other comments from the previous meetings I wanted to circle back to. At the past two meetings, Kira and Darren said that none of our neighbors to the north have a problem with our proposal. I feel that is a bit misleading. For us, opposing the variances proposed by our immediate neighbors was not a decision we made lightly. We haven't heard any support from any neighbors for the proposals. Maybe the neighbors on the other side were happy that the boathouse and deck weren't being proposed next to them. Who knows? What we do have is a large and varied group of people who've taken a lot of time and effort to express some very strong opposition to both the dock and boathouse. At the first meeting, Kira claimed that she bought the property when the lake was frozen. I reached out to the sellers, Jack and Judy Lilleman, and they said that Kieran and Darren visited the property on June 15th prior to closing. At that point, Kieran and Darren apparently demanded a significant price reduction because the water level was higher than they expected, or they would walk from the deal. A price reduction was granted and the deal went ahead. Based on that, the purchase must not have been finalized when the lake was frozen. Seems to me that when it suits our neighbors' purposes, the lake level is too high. Now to suit their purposes, they argue the lake level is too low. For us, we think it's about right and enjoy our property with similar water depths year-round using our compliant dock. Again, even if a longer dock was justified to access deeper water, I don't understand why the boathouse and party deck would ever be considered, especially in light of the many neighbors and community members objecting to it. So if it was me and I wanted to be considerate to my neighbors, but also wanted to have my boathouse, bar, and party deck, I would reverse the plan. I would build a compliant boathouse deck with a marine railway. I'd add a floating dock and a ramp to gain access to deeper water. I feel like incorporating a floating dock works better on a lake where the water level fluctuates by 4 feet. It would also reduce the size of bubbler needed, reducing the in-lake structure by well over a third. Keeping it closer to shore would greatly reduce the safety risk. In addition, those benefits, it would help preserve both our privacy and their privacy. There are other options besides a massive 2,200 square foot complex over 64 feet from shore. If approved, as proposed, a boathouse, bar, party deck, and dock will have a significantly negative impact on our safety, privacy, enjoyment of our property, and overall enjoyment of Kewagama. Thank you. Thank you very much for your time. Sorry, that was a bit long-winded.
Questions for the presenter? Member McLaren.
Yeah, you mentioned that there were other objections that weren't addressed.
In the EIS, I was meaning the objections outside of the EIS that weren't addressed or discussed, or they didn't contact us to try and see a way forward, or if there was some sort of compromise for those objections, not necessarily the objections within the EIS. Sorry if that was unclear.
Okay.
Any other questions? Member Rogers?
Not sure if you've had a chance to see the other documentation that was presented by the applicants, and it has the line of sight.
No, that wasn't circulated to any of us, to my knowledge.
You want it? That's challenging. Seems to me that that's challenging the your definitions of sight lines. So I'm
Yeah,
trying.
I don't see how it's not in our line of sight. I think it's a bit, if you see this part that sticks out here, that's in the water, or we see like it's not solid, it's not tucked into solid land. That might have been an old property line that's since been eroded. I'm not sure, but when we look across the lake to the Big Lake view, if you look at the coffee cup photo.
Yeah.
And if you look at the white marker buoy in front of it.
Yeah.
The white marker buoy is 60 feet from shore. So I don't understand how our view will not be impacted.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. I just wanted.
Yeah, it seems, and one of the things with our neighbors not being willing to talk to us, it's made me wonder if they don't understand what we think of as our view. We're not talking about the west view towards Wolf Island. We're talking about the Big Lake, open lake view, the unobstructed open lake view that we currently have.
Okay.
So I think there's a misunderstanding with what we consider our view, but that's, I think, a result of not being willing to have a conversation.
Yeah. And I was just gonna make that comment. Unfortunately, because you hadn't seen that in advance, I sort of dumped that on you.
Yeah,
very
no,
suddenly.
I appreciate it. I guess one other thing, just the comment about the inflatables in the slide. Again, if our neighbors had talked to us, we as a community really value that. We find it's a shared resource. All the kids along the inlet are welcome there, and we see it as something that keeps our kids out of danger. It's a safe area for them to play and enjoy the water. Peter, our neighbor, is very considerate. He's like, if you guys ever have a problem, it's blocking the view, I'll move it or move it in. And one thing too, it's not permanent. They're out there in the summer. It's really to create a barrier for, like, we have some pretty young kids where they can play safely, and we're all on each other's docks to keep an eye on them. So I think it's significantly different than if it were, say, a boathouse sticking out that far. And again, a boat port with a flat roof that's open, it's so different than a permanent structure enclosed with an extended roof on it. And like Peter does have a cover for his boat that he uses, but again, it's 9 months of the year it's up when his boat's out of the water. Even when his boat's in the water during the day, it's up. It's got a remote control. It comes up. It comes up in the morning and then goes back down at sunset. So I don't think they're anywhere near the same thing. Like, one's from people that are being like super considerate of their neighbors and talk to their neighbors before they do anything. And then this is something which we feel is being imposed upon us with no consideration. Anyway. But anyway, thanks for your time, folks. Any more questions? Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to speak to the application? Okay. Good afternoon. If you could speak your name and who you represent.
Yes, it's Amber Stewart, and I am the lawyer who represents a number of the cottage owners. I can list out names if you'd like, but a number of the cottage owners in the area.
Go ahead then.
Thank you. So first of all, if you will recall, Madam Chair, I I was in attendance in person at the last committee hearing date, and I do regret not being in person today, but I couldn't make the drive because I had another hearing that I had to attend. So thank you for accommodating my time and allowing me to do this online. So I think you've already heard from one resident. You're going to hear from a number of other residents about the impact that is perceived from this application. I hope what I can do is sort of summarize that impact from a planning perspective. You will recall that I submitted a letter on May 29th. I believe it's part of the record. It's part of the record, this hearing as well, which set out a number of the concerns, some of which I know have been further investigated, many of which have not been addressed by the current application, which is the same. I wanted to point out that I did send a copy of my letter on May 29th to Ms. Markham, the applicant's planner. And I asked in that letter and in the covering email if they would be willing to consider a deferral of that application on the first day in order to allow my clients, the neighboring cottage owners, to have meetings and discuss a compromise proposal. And I can tell you that I didn't even receive the courtesy of a response to that email. The hearing was held on May 30th, and I know that there were a number of conditions that had to be met, but it should have been abundantly clear that one of the main concerns that was expressed at that meeting was the visual impact of this boathouse from neighboring cottage owners and from the lake itself. And there was a clear direction from the committee to direct the owners to speak with the neighbors and see if a resolution to the concerns could be achieved. I know that Ms. Markham asked for emails of the neighboring objecting cottage owners in June, and those emails were provided. To my knowledge, there has not been any effort to contact or discuss with any of those neighbors before coming back with this application. I know that Mr. Evans, and I know he'll read it out to you, sent a direct email to the applicant, to the owner, inviting him to come over and discuss the application for the boathouse. And I know that there was a response. I don't think the response was very friendly, and it certainly didn't accept the offer to have a discussion. So instead of making revisions, the owners decided to bifurcate or sever the two applications, the boathouse application from the garage application. I hope it is evident that the people who are objecting here today are reasonable people, because they did not object. In fact, they supported the first application for the garage because they perceived that application would not have as direct of an impact on them. And that application for the garage was approved. So instead of making revisions to address the concerns that were raised at that first hearing, the owners have come back with an identical application for again, very large boathouse, which is projecting more than double what it is permitted to project from the high water mark into the lake. So now I'm referring back to the letter that I submitted on May 29th, and I reiterate that a number of those planning concerns with respect to the boathouse remain the same. That include, and again, those concerns were not answered by Ms. Markham in her planning justification report. In that report, and I don't believe we've seen anything updated from her to address the comments that were made at that first hearing or in my letter. She indicated that the intent of the maximum projection of a dock and boathouse is to ensure that shoreline structures do not create a hazard to water travel. In that letter, I cited a number of policies that would indicate that there is a much greater intent than that in the official plan. The official plan policies speak to the lake horizon, the shoreline, the tree line, the fact that visual enjoyment, both from the lake and from the shore, are integral contributors or important contributors to the lake's character and landscape. I've also cited policies that refer to the character of the lake and the fact that the intent of the zoning bylaw, it makes a very important distinction between the extent to which a dock can project versus a boathouse. A dock can project 15 meters, a boathouse is only permitted to project 8 meters. So in my respectful submission, the intent of those two different standards is because the impact of a boathouse is much more significant than the impact of a dock. With respect to some of the other considerations, I know that you will hear some much more technical information regarding the high watermark information that has been provided from others. With respect to the adequacy, what I will say is that in my respectful submission, in my view, two things. First of all, having the November high water mark, which is really the low water mark, the absolute time when the lake waters are lowest, there's absolutely no reason to refer to that information at all in consideration of this. Boating season is over by mid-September. I think it's already probably at the tail end of boating season. And so in my respectful submission, there are other ways, there are other opportunities to locate a boathouse in a manner that would permit a boat to be stored in that boathouse with a much lesser projection. I would also indicate or also submit that we still haven't seen any other information or suggestion that other opportunities to better locate the boathouse in a way that is closer to shore, which would still allow for greater water depths closer to shore. So in other words, alternatives have not been considered. So I think that about sums it up, and I'm happy to take any questions, but I think, it's really unfortunate that we're back here with virtually no changes having been made to the application, despite the committee's clear direction. And I'd like to suggest to you that it's in light of the fact that the owners have completely ignored the committee's direction to consult with the neighbors and try and reach a compromise with the neighbors. There is a third option open to the committee today. It is not mandatory that the committee approve or refuse an application. It is also a possibility that the committee of its own discretion adjourn the application and direct that it be deferred until the applicants have actually consulted with the people who've expressed such significant concerns today. So thank you very much for your time. Subject to any questions, I think that's all I had intended to say.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Stewart? Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the room who wishes to speak to the application? Like to come forward?
Sorry.
Yep, go ahead. Okay.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm just going to make one quick note to I understand there's a lot of interest in the application, but time is a bit of a factor as well. So if you could just keep your comments concise, and if you could try not to repeat any points that have already been addressed, then that would be helpful. Thank you.
I will do my best.
Thank you.
Also refrain from some of what has been said so far. Okay.
If you could
So
state your name, please.
my name is Carrie Schramm. So I will try to be brief. Myself and Jason, we are the neighbors at 4009 Quagga Lake Road, and we purchased our property in 2021. Very briefly, I'm going to tell you a bit who we are. So I am a family doctor in Toronto. Jason owns a small business in Toronto. He grew up on the shores of Lake Erie, and then later in middle childhood had a house in Aurelia. I had a family cottage on Lake Huron. So we did not purchase our property lightly. This was something we looked near my parents' property where he grew up. We really looked very province-wide in purchasing our property. We considered Muskokas, and we really chose Quagga Lake with intent. And one of the reasons we chose Quagga Lake was because of the nature of the lake, which does include less development than other places such as Muskokas. In purchasing this property, we did pay a premium because yes, we have a view of Wolf Island, but what's more important to us is if we turn slightly to the north is we have a wide view of this big wide open lake with a shoreline across from it. We do see the point of our neighbor's property when we look out there, and there was a longer dock there before too, but I can see over a dock and I can see over a point with some shrubs. What I can't see over is a structure that's extending 16 feet, 16 feet in the air. So I can see over a dock and I can see over shrubs. I'm trying to condense all of this. We use our property year round. We use it in winter. We also use it in summer, as my husband has stated. So for us, it's not just about the impact of the summer, it's about the impact year round, because that's really how we use our property. We did not oppose the development of our neighbor's garage when they made a few revisions to make it a little more open and less obstructive. And we recognize that this is for the storage of recreational toys. So the impact on our current property. As you know, this application actually has two parts which have a significant impact. One is a dock, which extends out, but at ground level, at lake level, right? That's where docks exist. The other one is a boathouse, which extends much higher into the air. Amber did a good job of summarizing that the boathouse really is more than double what is currently allowed. And boathouse allowances are significantly less those of docks. So this is a significant variance for what would be a boathouse extending directly out in front of us. Not in front of us, but between us and our view of the broader open lake. I'm skipping through stuff. So this is a photo. This was from Darren and Kira's EIS. So this was the photo that they presented. And this photo in the EIS looks at the location of the proposed boathouse towards adjacent cottage properties. So as you can see from this, so if you're on the boathouse, this is what you're going to see.
Sorry, you'll have to use the microphone
Oh.
so people can
Okay.
hear you online.
As you can see, so unfortunately online, they probably can't see it. This, I will use.
You have to speak into the
Okay.
microphone.
This is us. So if their view goes this way, their view's looking right at us. Therefore, if we look this way, we're looking right at their dock and boathouse, right? If they're looking at us, we're looking at them. It goes both ways. So this is their view. This is our currently private deck, and we have a dock which extends. It's hard to see because it's, again, docks are hard to see because they're on the water. They're not extending in the air. This is our dock. This is our deck. This is extending right at us. To us, this is a real issue for privacy. Darren's making comments about my concerns about our privacy. I feel like those are a bit flippant and offensive, but I am going to give you photos which show my kids reading on our deck. I will only speak in the microphone, and then I will come back. And when you turn the page, you'll see the view that they will have of this deck with their boathouse that is more than twice the distance of the water. What page is this on?
Thank you.
So those are my kids reading. I do have nerdy kids. Their parents are nerds. It's inevitable. At the cottage, they're laying on the deck reading in their bathing suits with a, discarded life jacket. That's what they do. On the next page, you can see, and we drew a little circle around it. That's the marker that was put 60 feet into the water. That marker is going to be, and my daughter's still reading. I couldn't kick her out of the photo. She was in a good part of the book. That marker is going to be looking directly back at her while she's reading on what is otherwise a private deck. You can see we have nice trees around this deck. It's tucked in. We have a storage bin on the one side, provide a little additional privacy. It's just kind of nice to have a private space where you can lay back and read. It's on the shore. It's also not extended in the water. It's on the shore. And that circled marker is going to be looking directly back at it. Not just directly back at it, but directly back at it with a bar, a massive deck, jet skis, boats, whatever else docked up to it. This space for our kids will be lost. If you turn the page, I'm jumping around here, guys, because of time. If you turn the page, I have a picture of a Bell Canada boat, August 11th. So August 11th, we're hanging out, and this crazy looking boat comes. My nerdy 7-year-old son thinks it's like the coolest boat he's ever seen. It's laying cable, right? So you can imagine this was like a really big, exciting day. Mom, take a picture. This is awesome. This Bell Canada boat was able to get that close to shore on August 11th. It weighed a ton, full of fiber optic cable, lay down the cable and get back out into the lake without issue. It's not kicking sand anywhere, destroying motors. None of that's happening. We all have sandy shores. That's not a unique character of 40011 Quagama. We all have sandy shores. And in August, however heavy that Bell Canada boat is, can get, what's that, within 20 feet of shore, in and out, no problem. That picture, I'm trying to condense this really quick here. That picture is really to show that I don't think this is necessary. My daughter marched around in the lake with a meter stick because what else are you gonna do some days? She's able to get within 12 meters of shore in the summer at a meter depth. You don't need to be this far out. A boathouse is not needed to access high water. You can have a boathouse right on land. To have, if our neighbors want to have an extended dock because they want to get deeper water or they want to be out there, we can work with them and we would support that. It's having a boathouse that's massively obstructive. I can see over a dock, I can see through a boat port. I can't see through a massive boathouse that in the winter is going to be an extra 4 feet high in the air. I can't see through that. That's an obstruction. I don't have the pictures that they showed you there. Truthfully, I didn't give this to you guys ahead of time because last time I gave you stuff ahead of time, they personally attacked it. I didn't know I was going to walk in and be personally attacked again. So just in conclusion, on a personal note, our experience to date has started out civil, but has since had a genuine negative impact on our well-being. Navigating these requests for variances, confirming bylaws, drafting responses, and attending hearings has taken time away from our family and our livelihoods. To be here today, I canceled a clinic. Colleagues are covering for me, and if you're my patient, I can probably see you in 4 weeks, and I'm really sorry I had to cancel. I had to arrange for additional childcare. I can't get back to get my kids from school today.
I'm sorry, those really aren't relevant to planning. I mean, I hear
They're
you.
not relevant to planning, but what I want to drill home is all of this is beyond our control and that we thought we would be protected by these bylaws that exist. When we bought our property, we knew the neighboring property, the owner was very elderly, it would likely be sold. We were worried about what could happen on this property. What if someone builds a massive condo unit? What if someone puts a summer camp there? What could happen to this relatively large, more than 2-acre property? We consulted the bylaws before we purchased our property, and we were reassured that the bylaws would protect us from anything like this happening. What we respectfully ask is that Darren and Kira put themselves in the vantage point of others. Would you wish a structure such as this, which would impact your view, decrease your privacy, and impact your safety, be right next to you? I didn't go into safety because my husband did. It's about year-round safety. My kids cannot go around a structure like that into Stumpy Bay with the safety that they can today. I can't see them through a boathouse. They have to go farther into the channel. Maybe it doesn't obstruct motorcraft, but to go around their dock, they're closer to those boats than now when they can tuck themselves into shore. They can't do that with this structure. I respectfully ask to be willing to have a conversation, be willing to consider a compromise and consider alternatives.
Thank you. Any questions for the presenter? Thanks.
I'd also just like to confirm that the pictures my husband presented, they were reviewed by an industrial designer. So I understand that you have some things showing that our view would not be impacted. You're right, my view of Wolf Island will not be impacted. But as soon as I turn 45 degrees to my right, that's what's impacted. And that's why I bought it. I wanted the wide open lake view. That's why I wouldn't let him buy a different cottage. I made him buy this one.
Are there other members in the audience who wish to present? Come forward, state your name, please.
Hi there. My name is Peter Evans and I'm Jason's neighbor. I'm 2 down from the applicants. As discussed during the last hearing on this boathouse, I, along with every one of the applicant's neighbors and the Quagga Lake Cottage Association, strongly oppose this application due to serious concerns regarding privacy, sightlines, and overlook rather. We're not here to waste valuable committee time, nor are we here to be not in my backyard types. All of us opposing this application value good neighborly relations. We all met when we purchased or built here, have made great friends, and genuinely want to get along with everyone on the lake, new and old to the lake. That's the nature of Quagga, and that's what makes it so special. You can go on our Facebook page and see how kind and engaged the community is. It's who we are. At the last hearing, we reviewed one application with 2 variance requests from this couple, one for a garage and one for a boathouse. As you may recall, the major opposition from the neighborhood focused on the boathouse. The garage was a minor issue. And once the applicant made acceptable revisions, We were all here to support it, and it was approved. We are genuinely interested in helping this couple build structures that suit their needs and enhance their enjoyment of the lake. I want to make that really clear. I'm confused by the boathouse application. I really am. It appears to be exactly the same plan that was discussed in the last hearing. The same plan that the neighbors, the KLCA, and the broader community had serious concerns about. I was under the impression that after this application was postponed, the applicants were urged to work with the neighbors to revise the boathouse and dock plan to better suit everyone. I personally have lots of ideas that I think would be well received. We reached out to Sean via email after the last meeting to let him know that Jason and I were willing and able to work with the applicants. It would be easier for the applicants to work with the two of us versus 10 or 12 of us that all opposed at the last meeting. We represented that group. We provided all of our contact information, which Sean promptly passed along, and thank you for that, Sean. When we didn't hear from the applicants, I proactively sent Mr. Martel a kind email inviting him to meet at my cottage at his convenience for a beer and a chat. I have both the message and his response. Darren, it's Peter Evans, Jason's neighbor, hoping you might be free for a chat. We saw the latest garage variance application. We'd like to work with you on this and the boathouse. Let's find something that works for everyone. Let me know when you have time for a chat, or better yet, a dockside beer at my place. Darren's response. Peter, there is nothing I can add that would warrant a conversation at this time regarding the boathouse. Obviously, you've received notice of the garage minor variance meeting at the end of this month. You can reach out to Sean, the town planner, for a copy of the garage concept. Although the application states it's 2,500 square feet, I would point out it's actually 1,253 square feet plus 2 carports. As you know, there's no parking or opportunity to build a garage behind the cottage, so the next best place is tucked in the side yard out of sight. I have 6 trailers of various sizes for my seasonal toys, so getting them tucked in out of sight, behind out of sight also benefits the neighbors. So far, your actions have cost us almost $10,000 in a 60-day delay. Darren Martel. That's what I got back. The main reason for this variance application, as I understand, for a boathouse at the end of a permanent dock that extends far beyond what the zoning bylaws allow, was to protect the applicant's boat. But to me, based on these plans, this appears less about boat protection and more about building a space for the applicant, his family, his guests to hang out, relax, party, and entertain. This plan shows a massive amount of dock at the end where the boathouse is situated, complete with a bar stools built into the side of the boathouse, several lounge chairs and other furniture looking right at all of the applicants that are opposed to this down the channel. This application looks more like an attempt to create an outdoor living space than a functional boathouse. Mr. Martel talks about, let's talk about facts here. The facts, as I understood, were to protect his boat. This to me doesn't look like a plan reasonable just to protect his boat. This is an absolute outdoor living space and a party deck way out in the middle of the lake, looking at all of us and facing all of us. Unfortunately, this proposed living space is set out far in the lake, will significantly obstruct over a dozen neighbors' views and presents a major privacy concern for all of us. Most of the dock real estate, the bar, the lounge chairs directly faces us. The projection allows direct sight lines onto nearby docks and even into our properties. There are plenty of other ways to protect a boat in shallow shoreline conditions. A compliant boathouse could be built much closer to the shore with a marine railway, which works extremely well and is used frequently around the lake. To my knowledge, there are no restrictions on floating docks. The applicant could build a bylaw compliant permanent dock and attach large floating docks way out in the lake to provide adequate water depth when using his boat and store the boat using a marine railway in a boathouse that's compliant. The proposed boathouse is also unnecessarily large and doesn't fit with the others on Kawagama. This is not Muskoka. Structures on Quagga are modest, they're discreet, they're designed to serve the purpose while minimizing the impact on the surrounding natural beauty. As shown in photos that you've received, most boathouses have very small or peaked or flat roofs. Many are simple boat ports with open sides that block very little view. In fact, most cottagers opt for boat ports over enclosed boathouse for exactly this reason. View. Kawagama isn't about oversized structures or massive docks projecting into lakes, hence our bylaws. We all love boating. It's a big lake. We all find ways to protect our boats without sacrificing our shoreline's beauty or our neighbors' privacy and views. That's who we are on Kawagama, and it works. I strongly urge the committee not to approve this application, and despite the tone of Mr. Martel's email to me, I'd still be happy to work with him and his wife to find a mutually acceptable solution. We want this couple to enjoy their new property, and I mean that sincerely.
Thank you. Questions from committee members? Hearing none, is there anyone else in the room who wishes to speak to the application?
Thank you, Chair. My name is Claude Norfolk. I'm a director on the KLCA, Coagulant Lake Cottages Association. We had written a committee with some concerns. I won't go over them. I think the committee has heard both sides of these issues concerning bubblers and draft and M&R requirements. But I think, in summary, I think fundamentally, the KLCA is an organization of 468 members as of last night, actually. We have a lake plan that was drawn up a few years ago that drives and informs all of our activities from those members, which we're currently in the process of refreshing. But the lake plan basically is centered on our mission, which is summed up as preserve the heritage. And so a big part of the message that we receive from members, and of course, to Mr. Martel's point, you know, it's not every single member would agree with every other member, but the vast majority of our members want us to work to preserve the heritage of Coagulant Lake. And that includes things like water quality and preserving a natural shoreline. So that's the reason that we oppose this application. We don't oppose boathouses in general. There's lots of boathouses on Coagulant Lake that are well built and designed to blend into the shoreline. Unfortunately, in our opinion, this one does not. And that are my comment. Those are my comments, Chair.
Questions from the committee members? Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else in the room who wishes to speak either for or against the application? So we have some folks online who wish to speak to the application. Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon, Madam Chair. Thank you. My name's Craig Richardson. My wife and I, we own a property at 3985 Coagulant Lake Road, about 4 or 5 residences down from the applicants. And I just want to thank you for giving me a brief opportunity to speak today. I will keep it brief at 2-3 minutes. I'm here not only as a concerned neighbor, but also as a steward of Coagulant Lake's unique character. The Martel's application for a boathouse structure extending 64 feet from the shore and having a height of, say, roughly 16 feet and a total footprint of over 2,200 square feet with docks, which includes, the recreational amenities such as the bar and stool, significantly exceeds what is reasonably necessary for boat storage and protection, I should say. So I just want to say that again, significantly exceeds what's reasonably necessary for boat storage and protection. This proposal is not only disproportionate in scale, but also risks fundamentally altering the shoreline character of Coagulant Lake. The impact on the community is substantial. Coagulant is not Lake Muskoka, Joseph, or Rosso. It's a quieter, less developed lake where residents value natural beauty, modest shoreline development, and environmental stewardship. The proposed structure would dominate the waterfront view, disrupt the visual harmony of the shoreline, and potentially affect property values and enjoyment for neighboring residents. The applicants, as licensed real estate professionals, are sophisticated buyers who understood or who ought to have understood the limitations of the property at the time of purchase. Despite clear guidance from this committee to engage with neighbors and revise their proposal, they have returned with no changes and no outreach. When Peter Evans reached out to discuss the boathouse, the response was uncooperative and frankly hostile. This disregard for community collaboration and committee direction is disappointing and wastes valuable time and taxpayer resources. I respectfully request that the committee defer the application once again and strongly urge the applicants to engage in good faith discussions with neighboring property owners. We remain open and willing to work with the Martels to find a solution that allows them to enjoy their property while preserving the integrity and the beauty of Coagulant Lake. Let us uphold the principles of responsible planning, community respect, and environmental stewardship that defines this lake and its residents. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Questions? Thank you, sir. Do we have anyone else online?
Hello, my name is Alexandra Evans, and I am one of the neighbors on the other side of Carrie and Jason. And I'm wife to Peter Evans over at 4001 Coagama Lake Road. I'm concerned with a number of items, and I hope that this committee hears that there's a large contingent of property owners and who love the lake, who are all there for the same reason, namely the enjoyment of the lake. And we want to be sure that those principles are valued and that those are upheld. My husband and I know our neighbors on the lake, we're a very friendly group of people. We are reasonable. We want to work with the Martells, and our dock is always open for them to come by. And I want to reiterate that, as my husband said, and as our other neighbors have said as well, and that we can be good friends once this is all over. I know that they have grandchildren the same ages as our own kids, and we know that we have activities and space that is really accommodating to everyone, and we want to be sure that everyone enjoys that same thing. And that's mainly where I stand. I hope that the Martells will come around. I hope that they see that we are a community. I hope the committee sees that we are a community. And we need your support. The cottagers need the committee's support to preserve our heritage, to preserve our lake, and preserve the spirit of why we all love Algonquin Highlands and Coagama Lake as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Good afternoon.
Oh, good afternoon. My name is Chuck Phillips, and my wife Sarah and I own a property at 3991 Coagama Lake Road. I won't repeat a lot of the arguments that have been presented to the committee to date, but I just did want to express that we were very anxious to try to reach some sort of a compromise regarding this proposal. Our concerns continue to be around safety. The channel into Wolf Creek is getting increasingly busy, and we think that any restriction on sight lines may well impact on that safety even more. We had an incident which my wife cited at the last meeting, where a boat came into the channel, didn't see some of our family members swimming across to the point, and it very nearly resulted in a tragedy. And so we think that along with our enjoyment of the up towards the north end of the lake would be impacted by this application. And as a result, we're hoping that this application will again be deferred, so we have an opportunity to discuss it and reach some sort of a reasonable compromise. And that's really all I have to present at this time.
Thank you. Questions on the committee? Is there anyone else who wishes to speak either for or against the application? Hearing none, I understand, Mr. Martell, you do have an opportunity to respond to any of the comments that have been made. And try, if you would, to, I beg your pardon? No, I was going to say, try not to make it personal.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. I understand it's not pretty cool. Understand Mr. Phillips is actually selling his property, so wish him luck. So
Please-
I
please,
sent
sir,
the
try
line
not
of
to take
sight.
it-
Yeah.
Try not to make it personal.
Thank you. Oh, it's not personal. I wish him luck. So not to ask somebody to speak out of turn, but both Sean and Greg were at the property 2 weeks ago. And without putting words in their mouth, they both saw that we would be tucked into the corner and that in fact, we would not, the line of sight would not be a factor. So we have shrubs in behind us, we have shrubs in beside us. You can't see past those anyhow. And so when I look at this diagram, it's very close. I mean, the concept is, Dan Christensen drew in some chairs, didn't know that was going to bite me. But that's his drawing, not my concept. So there was conversation. So the dock is we're not asking for relief from the dock. The dock size is the dock size. The bylaw, the dock size will be on pillars. And so they build these docks 16 inches above the water line as a rule. And so when the water goes down, whether there's a boathouse on top or no boathouse, those legs will or will not be visible. If you look 150 feet down the lot line on my property, yeah, you'll see those. You'll see them across the lake if that's the case. All the conditions were met. That's what you asked me at the last meeting. We've met all the conditions. We have words like perceived, it's not reality. We've presented the reality. We're not a navigational challenge. We are tucked in. The kids can still get around the point in between that white marker. We have lots of islands there. There's no boat traffic. There's nothing else that we can share with you. There's nothing really to talk about with our neighbors. I mean, they brought the war on me. I'm just going to respond. The water levels are water levels. I don't control the dam. The water levels are the water levels. So yeah, I didn't change my application because the water levels haven't gone up. They're the same. So I do want to vote today. We either vote yes or we move forward. And that's the way it sits.
Questions or comments?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question. So is it fairly accurate, you think, that the water is a meter deep at 12 meters?
So I took a picture and it's in the truck. I took a picture on October the 16th last year. And anybody that has a camera on their phone, the photo is dated. October the 16th, I was out 45 feet and the water did not go over my boots. I had a pair of shorts on. So that's what it's at 45 feet, October the 16th. I've had a cottage for 15 years. Thanksgiving weekend, we get in the boat, we see the colors, the kids help put away the docks. That's Thanksgiving weekend, not September 5th when we start taking boats out of the water. The boating season is not finished. Trust me, it's not. I watch the boats go up and down. I have been at this property building a new cottage. I haven't seen anybody walk over. And so there's no fencing. They could come my way, they could go their way. When Mr. Evans sent me an email, it was factual. I didn't have my EIS report. I didn't have anything to suggest anything different. I'm not going to his house for a beer. What a joke.
I'm sorry, you can't. I beg your pardon? Okay, I'm sorry. That's not appropriate. It's not related to, I mean, I understand the concern and the frustration that you were asked to confer with your neighbors and you have not undertaken to do that.
That's not true.
That's the frustration, but we cannot allow an argument going back and forth. You
Laura
made your
Finney will
comments,
confirm
everyone
that's
else has
right.
made their comments. It's going to be time for us to discuss this.
Yeah, Laura Finney will confirm that I did respond. I never once got a list of the email addresses. I only had Peter's and Jason's, and I might have Carrie's, and that was as far as I was going to get. So that's that. The fact of the matter is, these people submitted. These people don't have written confirmation. They can't represent the other group. These people have represented themselves.
This is not related to planning, what
No,
you're
I
talking about
realize,
right
but
now.
I don't want you to feel that I didn't respond. That's all. Thank you. Yeah, the line of sight that you referenced and asked Jason Brown about, that's the line of sight. That's, it doesn't block.
I'm sorry, everybody has had an opportunity to speak. You've had an opportunity to respond, so thank you. We'll now hear comments from the committee. I personally, I have to say, I have a concern with the distance that the boathouse is out from the property, the size of the boathouse. It does appear to be additional living space more than a boathouse. And I personally will not support it, but that's, I'm one vote. Member Rogers.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm as I think the committee remembers, I've never supported extension of docks into the waters. That we have bylaws that say this is the length of the dock, and so I've never supported that. I've voted against a couple in the past. So this is not going to be unheard of that I object to this this particular one. I do not support it. Again, I look to Sean and say, you did a great job on the planning. I know you've done a lot of work on this, but in this case, I find there are 4 tests that you have to meet in a minor variance, and I don't think the 4 tests have been met. I think 2 of them have been with respect to the official plan and zoning. I think even the Quagga Lake property association has agreed with that as well. But I agree with them that there is something that, 2 other items that you have to be concerned about, and those are whether it is minor or not. And I don't think this is minor. I think this is quite significant, as you have said, Madam Chair. It's more living space than it is a dock and a boathouse. And I also find that we're the other test, which I'm just going to pull up myself. It's not desirable for the appropriate development or use of the land, building, or structure. And I think that as we see from all of the folks that have come and made their comments and the people that online have made their comments, it's just not, something that the community wants, the people around them want. So I would, after the comments, I certainly would make a motion that we refuse the application based on the 2 items I've already said. It does not meet those 2 tests.
Member McLaren.
You want to hear from me?
Yes.
Madam Chair, I think I could support a compromise. If it's a meter deep at 12 meters, then I think there's room for a compromise. And until then, I would second the motion to John's motion.
The only thing that I wanted to add is that I do take to heart the comment that Dr. Carey, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your last name. I take to heart the fact that you did a lot of research when you were buying your property and that you reviewed the bylaws and felt that you were protected by our bylaws. And this to me goes just a step, more than one step too far with respect to, because it's not just a boathouse, and it projects far too much into the water. The size of the boathouse is far more than what I think may be needed. I can't support it either. So I think you have a mover and a seconder to reject the application. But we'll give you a minute to
Yeah, thank you.
work on some wording.
Moved by John Rogers, second by Ferguson McLaren. Be it resolved, the Committee of Adjustment hereby refuses minor variance application AHMV 00325 to seek relief from section 4.2.9E of the zoning bylaw to permit an increase in the maximum projection of a dock from 15 meters to 19.74 meters, and from section 4.2.9F of the zoning bylaw to permit an increase in the maximum projection of a boathouse from 8 meters to 19.04 meters. For the following reasons. The variance is not minor in nature. It is not desirable for the appropriate development or use of land, building or structure. And the boathouse can be constructed in a manner that would comply with the zoning bylaw.
All in favor? Or do you need a individual call for votes? Well,
No,
I think you've
Nope.
got them.
so there was
The-
sorry, was the vote called? It was, okay.
That's carried. And I really would like to thank everybody. I know this has been a difficult and challenging process for everyone. So thank everyone for your attendance
Did you-
and passion. To do,
To let the next.
yeah, okay, we'll just pause for a moment before we move on.
We're just gonna pause for a moment. If anyone wants to leave, then you have a quick opportunity to do so.
But you're welcome to stay if you wish to as well.
They get to show up, if anybody wants to free, boat ports and boathouses on. Yeah, this one I love, this is kind of what people are doing, right?
These are the ones that are-
These boat ports, right, instead of.
Sorry, the meeting's still going on, so, yeah, very quick exit. Thank you.
By the way, as a complete aside, we are looking for family doctors in Alberta County.
I was like, oh, look in the summer and cover.
I think that their lead, the nurse practitioner is on leave right now. Anyway. I shouldn't have brought it up, but I just couldn't resist. Okay. Thank you. Moving along, the next item is an application for a minor variance by Swaminathan and Kumar in Sherburne.
Thank you. This property is located at 1265 Rimrock Drive. The lands are zoned shoreline residential 2 and designated waterfront under the official plan. The property is approximately 0.84 acres in area with 67 meters of frontage on Quagama Lake. Surrounding uses are generally shoreline residential and recreational commercial. The lands are currently developed with a dwelling, which was recently demolished, one shed, a sleeping cabin, and a dock. The previous 528 square foot, one-story dwelling has been demolished, and the applicant is proposing to construct a new 1,056 square foot, two-story dwelling on the same general footprint. The existing dwelling is currently set back 8.9 meters from the high water mark, and the proposed dwelling will be located in the same footprint, no closer to the high water mark. Existing site infrastructure, including accessory structures, driveways, septic system, along with a steep terrain, do restrict the available building location for the proposed dwelling that would comply with the zoning bylaw. The applicant is seeking the following relief. One from section 4.149 to increase the maximum gross floor area permitted from 20% to 100% for the purpose of constructing a 1,056 square foot, two-story dwelling. Again, from the same section 4.14.92 to increase the maximum height permitted from 20% to 118% for the purpose of constructing the 1,056 square foot, two-story dwelling. And finally, from section 4.2.7D of the zoning bylaw to reduce the minimum setback from the high water mark from 12 meters to 8.3 meters for the purpose of constructing an attached deck. Notice the application was posted on the property, posted on the township website, circulated to property owners within 60 meters of the subject lands, as well as to the County of Haliburton and the Quagama Lake Property Owners Association. No objections have been received. Staff are recommending approval of the proposed minor variance with the following conditions. One, confirmation be provided from an Ontario land surveyor that the proposed dwelling is not located closer than 8.9 meters and the attached deck is not located closer than 8.3 meters from the high water mark prior to any clearing, site alteration, or the issuance of a building permit. Two, that any on-site sewage system permits and reviews required by the township have been obtained and approved prior to the issuance of a building permit. And three, that appropriate construction mitigation measures be implemented, including the erection and maintenance of silt fencing between the proposed building and the shoreline.
Questions from committee members? Member Rogers.
Quick one, when I did the site inspection, the bunkie has already been constructed. It looks fairly new. And I look at the survey and are the side yard setbacks appropriate in there or is there some reason
For the bunkie,
for the bunkie? Yeah. It shows 0.77 on the side yard.
sorry, I'm just pulling up the site plan.
It's page 144 in the agenda.
Okay. I do know it was constructed with a building permit, and I believe it was replacing a previous structure that was there, so it was likely under a legal non-comply, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak to this application? Come forward.
Ready? Yeah, hi, members of the committee. My name is Vyas. I'm one of the owners of the property in question with my wife. The crux of the application is that there was an outdated old cabin situated on the property that has since been demolished. We are proposing to construct instead a modern cottage, which is still modest on the same existing footprint as the existing cabin that was demolished. The site itself has some constraints. It is on a steep gradient, and realistically, this is the only place on the property where this construction could happen. So wanted to clarify that the new construction will be modest. It will be in alignment with the general characteristics of the other cottages in the community. It will be on the same existing footprint as the previously demolished cottage, and I think it would in fact add to the quality and potentially the property values of the neighboring properties as well. And so for those reasons, I respectfully request that this be approved.
Questions for the applicant? Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else present or online who wishes to speak to the application? I guess I would ask for a mover and a seconder to approve the application. Member McLaren, second by Member Rogers.
Moved by Fergus McLaren, seconded by John Rogers. Be it resolved, the Committee of Adjustment hereby approves minor variance application AHMV 1925 to seek relief from section 4.14.92 of the zoning bylaw to increase the maximum gross floor area permitted from 20% to 100%, and to increase the maximum height permitted from 20% to 118% for the purpose of constructing a 1,056 square foot two-story dwelling. And 3, from section 4.2.7D to reduce the minimum setback from the high water mark from 12 meters to 8.3 meters for the purpose of constructing an attached deck, subject to the following conditions. 1, confirmation be provided from an Ontario land surveyor that the proposed dwelling is not located closer than 8.9 meters, and the attached deck is not located closer than 8.3 meters from the high water mark prior to any clearing, site alteration, or the issuance of a building permit. 2, any on-site sewage system permits and reviews required by the township have been obtained and approved prior to the issuance of a building permit. And 3, that appropriate construction mitigation measures be implemented, including the erection and maintenance of silt fencing between the proposed building and the shoreline.
In favor? That's carried. Just a note that there is a 20-day appeal period, so no construction before then. The next is an application by Britain Capital Incorporated on Boshkong Lake.
This property is located at 16541 Highway 35. The lands are zoned C3 and designated waterfront under the official plan. The property is approximately 1.44 acres in area with 94 meters of frontage on Boshkung Lake. Surrounding uses are generally shoreline residential, recreational, commercial, rural residential, and extractive industrial. The lands are currently developed with a single-family dwelling, 7 accommodation units, and several accessory structures, including a dock. The applicant is proposing to demolish 3 accommodation units and construct 2 new accommodation units in the same general area as the current structures. Both proposed accommodation units will be 786 square feet and 1 story in height. The applicant is proposing to construct a 396 square foot pavilion in the same general footprint as the 3rd accommodation unit that's being demolished. The square footage of the 3 existing accommodation units is 1,089 square feet. 1,089 square feet, 482 square feet, and 257 square feet. The proposed demolition and reconstruction of structures results in a reduction from the 1,828 square feet to 1,572 square feet. The following variances are being requested, and that is from Table 2 of the zoning bylaw to reduce the minimum setback from the high water mark from 30 meters to 12.5 meters and to 17 meters for 2 786 square foot tourist accommodation cabins, and 2 from Table 2 of the zoning bylaw to reduce the minimum setback from the high water mark from 30 meters to 12.7 meters for a 396 square foot pavilion. Notice of the application was posted on the property, posted on the township website, circulated to property owners within 60 meters of the subject lands, the county of Haliburton, and to the Boshkung Lake Property Owners Association. No objections have been received. Staff would recommend approval of the proposed minor variance, conditional on the following. Confirmation being provided from an Ontario land surveyor that the proposed accommodation units are not located closer than 12.5 meters and 17 meters from the high water mark, and the proposed pavilion is not located closer than 12.7 meters from the high water mark prior to any clearing, site alteration, or the issuance of a building permit. That any on-site sewage system permits and reviews required by the township and or the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks have been obtained and approved prior to the issuance of a building permit. And finally, that appropriate construction mitigation measures be implemented, including the erection and maintenance of silt fencing between the proposed building and the shoreline.
Questions for Mr. O'Callaghan? Member Rogers?
On the drawings that were submitted, there shows a pavilion that's already in existence down on the it's number 16 on the drawing. It says to be removed or demolished. Did that have any part in your decision or your approval? And what I'm thinking is, should we make it conditional on that being removed, or is it, do you care?
It was not a factor in my my decision.
Mr. McLaren, any questions? Is there anyone present who wishes to speak to the application? Okay.
Sorry, Fred and John, if you wouldn't mind turning your camera on, you can address the committee if you wish to.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you for taking your
Oh, here we
time
go.
and
Sorry,
looking at
John,
this.
can I just cut in?
Sure, go ahead, Fred.
Okay, I got this working. Sorry. Okay, sorry about that. We're all good? And can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay,
Good
great.
afternoon to
Sorry.
both of you, and
Just to repeat again, I won't reiterate much of what the planner said. Thank you. Aside from just reestablishing that the proposed two new cabins and the open pavilion each have their front walls facing the lake at or further back from the present lake location. And that's it. If you'd like to add anything, John?
No, I think, you know, as I had mentioned with Sean through some of the discussions, we're actually removing one cabin on the property, you know, going from 7 now down to 6. And by putting the pavilion in, it just becomes a communal, you know, enjoyment space for guests in the, on the property. And that's about it.
any questions from the committee members for the applicant or his agent? Hearing none, could I have a mover and a seconder then to proceed with the application?
Any recommendations?
Member Rogers, seconded by Member McLaren.
Moved by John Rogers, second by Fergus McLaren. Be it resolved, the Committee of Adjustment hereby approves minor variance application AHMV 2125 to seek relief from Table 2 of the zoning bylaw to reduce the minimum setback from the high water mark from 30 meters to 12.5 meters and 17 meters for two 786 square foot tourist accommodation cabins. And Table 2 of the zoning bylaw to reduce the minimum setback from the high water mark from 30 meters to 12.7 meters for a 396 square foot pavilion. Subject to the following conditions. Confirmation be provided from an Ontario land surveyor that the proposed accommodation units are not located closer than 12.5 meters and 17 meters, and that the proposed pavilion is not located closer than 12.7 meters from the high water mark prior to any clearing, site alteration, or the issuance of a building permit. 3, any on-site sewage system permits and reviews required by the township and or the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks have been obtained and approved prior to the issuance of a building permit. And 4, that appropriate construction mitigation measures be implemented, which shall include the erection and maintenance of silt fencing between the proposed building and the shoreline.
All in favor? That's carried. And finally, a minor variance application by McCray on Boshkong Lake.
Thank you. This property is located at 1012 Abbey Lane. The lands are zoned shoreline residential 2 and designated waterfront in the official plan. The lands are approximately 0.71 acres in area with 36.5 meters of frontage on Boshkong Lake. Surrounding uses are generally shoreline residential, and the lands are currently developed with a dwelling, 3 sheds, a boathouse, and a dock. The applicants are proposing to demolish the existing 1,205 square foot one-story dwelling and are proposing to construct a new 3,589 square foot two-story dwelling on the same general footprint. The existing dwelling is currently set back 19.9 meters from the high water mark, and the proposed dwelling will be located in the same footprint, 22.9 meters from the high water mark. Existing site infrastructure, including accessory structures, the driveway, septic system, do restrict the available building location for the proposed dwelling that would comply with the zoning bylaw. Therefore, the following relief is being requested, and that is from section 4.14.95 to increase the maximum gross floor area permitted from 60% to 198% for the purpose of constructing a 3,589 square foot two-story dwelling. And from section 4.14.95 to increase the maximum height permitted from 60% to 100%, again, for constructing the proposed two-story dwelling. Notice of the application was posted on the property, posted on the township website, and circulated to property owners within 60 meters of the subject lands, the County of Haliburton, and to the Boshkong Lake Property Owners Association. No objections have been received. There were several letters of support that were received. Staff would recommend approval of the proposed minor variance conditional on the following. Confirmation be provided from an Ontario land surveyor that the proposed dwelling is not located closer than 22.9 meters from the high water mark prior to any clearing, site alteration, or the issuance of a building permit. 2, any on-site sewage system permits and reviews required by the township have been obtained and approved prior to the issuance of a building permit. And 3, that appropriate construction mitigation measures be implemented, including the erection and maintenance of silt fencing between the proposed building and the shoreline.
Thank you, sir. Any questions? Member Rogers?
I'm not sure, Sean, when I look at the drawings or the attachments, it shows that there are almost two separate parcels that are being combined. Have we confirmed that they've merged in title?
Yes, thank you. They have in fact
Okay,
merged now.
good,
Yeah.
thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, could I then have a mover and a seconder to approve the application? Member McLaren, second by Member Rogers.
You didn't ask for the.
Oh,
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Yeah. My apologies.
Okay, so moved by Fergus McLaren, seconded by John Rogers. Be it resolved, the Committee of Adjustment hereby approves minor variance application AHMV 2225 to seek relief from section 4.14.95 of the zoning bylaw to increase the maximum gross floor area permitted from 60% to 198% for the purpose of constructing a 3,589 square foot two-story dwelling. And from section 4.14.95 to increase the maximum height permitted from 60% to 100% for the purpose of constructing the proposed two-story dwelling, subject to the following conditions. Confirmation be provided from an Ontario land surveyor that the proposed dwelling is not located closer than 22.9 meters from the high water mark prior to any clearing, site alteration, or the issuance of a building permit. 2, any on-site sewage system permits and reviews required by the township have been obtained and approved prior to the issuance of a building permit. And 3, that appropriate construction mitigation measures be implemented, including the erection and maintenance of silt fencing between the proposed building and the shoreline.
All in favor? That's carried. Thank you, and again, my apologies. We don't usually have quite as many speakers at a meeting, and
Oh, okay.
Forwarded to you, Sean. We did have the surveyor, Bishop Geyer come.
Yep.
And he actually marked and posted the.
Okay, so that would fulfill the first condition then.
Did I think, thought I forwarded you that?
I think you may have. We just include the conditions as a general formalities.
okay, that concludes the items of business. The next meeting is proposed for September the 28th. Are we all available? Oh, 26, sorry. Maybe my glasses.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so you're good to go for the 26th? Hopefully the ladies will be too. So I guess I'd look for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Member Rogers, by Member McLaren.
Moved by John Rogers, second by Fergus McLaren. Be it resolved, the Committee of Adjustment hereby adjourns its regular meeting at 2:58 PM.